after everything that you went through as a child and losing your mom and your grandparents at such a young age, how much do you kind of take being a parent and really kind of like with every day, just enjoy every moment?
Yeah, I think you said it. It's about enjoying every moment and understanding the unconditional love that comes with building a family and being a part of a family. And my sister actually has a son. My nephew is a few months older than him, and a lot of our close friends and family. Three or four boys and a couple of girls, all within a year of each other. So it's been really fun for us to kind of transition as a crew from being young single to married and now parents with little kids, and just the joy they bring to all of us, and with our son, just being able to spend as much time with him as I can during the off season time, and enjoy every moment.
Sounds like you might have a little ball team going there. Have you done any coaching yet?
He's got his little tee and ball that he plays with. He carries his bat around all the time, and with the other boys too. There's definitely a common theme with baseball and the love for the game. At this age, it's tough to say, hey, you're going to be a baseball player, but just seeing the early interest is always exciting for us as parents. And yeah, we've been talking about the 3, 4, 5 hitters in our future little league lineup and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
Is your son a lefty?
He throws more right-handed. He just kind of swings the bat with whatever hand he wants. You see him throw once in a while left-handed, but I think eventually he's going to be a right-handed thrower, and we'll see from there what he decides to do with the bat.
Travis, over the last few years, man, you've bounced around from organization to organization, up in the majors, down in the minors. For some people, that could be very, very difficult to deal with. What I learned from you so many years ago is that what you went through as a kid really built up your immune system to these types of things. Are you able to pretty much just roll with the punches to what happens to you on the ball field?
Yeah, I think it's something, as prepared as you are, you're going to have your moments where you forget what defines you as a person. I think 2015 was a tough year, going to Baltimore and having a great opportunity over there and not making the most of that opportunity on a pretty good team early in the season, and then ending up back with Pittsburgh in the playoffs. That was a lot of fun. But going into 2016, mentally I wasn't prepared, and went to AAA after having an opportunity in spring training that I didn't take advantage of, and went to AAA with the wrong attitude. And I think my statistics would show that I wasn't the same player. And coming into 2017, it was kind of a breath of fresh air, just being able to get a job and go somewhere at the AAA level and just play and fall back in love with the game. And really, what defines me as a player and as a person, is being able to overcome that adversity. And I think last year I had more fun at the minor league level, probably than ever in my career. And I proved to myself and hopefully to others that I can still play this game at a high level, and some things that I wanted to build off coming into 2018, and learn from, like I said, the experiences in 15 and 16, which is something I've been through before, and it's going to make me stronger in the end.
Travis, you mentioned enjoying the game. Uh, are you a guy that maybe earlier in your career and maybe during some of the struggles you've had, you overthink things that you put so much pressure on yourself to perform the way you know you can that sometimes it becomes a detriment?
Absolutely. I'm a perfectionist and typically my toughest critic. And it's something, as you get older and you realize some of the cycles, the traps, the different things throughout the season, and even in spring training, the off season, the way we prepare ourselves physically, and forget the mental side and how important that is to being successful at the highest levels of any industry that you're in. And I think for me, it was a good reminder in 2016 that you can't just get by on what you've done in your career, and you can't get by on what you may think your status is around the game of baseball. You have to prove yourself every single day, and being able to have fun doing that is something that I had to rediscover, and that was really what 2017 was. And it was a great opportunity for me as a 29-year-old who's been in AAA, a handful of times and had success, to be there with some of these younger guys and realize the struggle that they're going through mentally, physically, emotionally, because we're all human beings, and seeing the pressure that these guys are putting on themselves and being able to lend an ear or make a comment or make a suggestion to help them and kind of keep them on track with what's going to ultimately lead to them getting up to the big leagues or back to the big leagues and being successful.
I got to tell you something. What I've always loved listening to you talk, Travis, and if you don't get back into the major leagues, I got to tell you, you should be a psychologist. The league needs people like you to really help a lot of these young kids because we don't focus. I don't think we focus enough on the mental side of the game. We're doing a lot more of it now, but I've seen so many young players struggle with the mental side of the game where the physical skills were there, and you'd always wonder, why is it that they can't do what I know that they can do? And a lot of times it has to do with what's going on in the brain, and there's just not enough people there to help them.
Yeah, I think you said it. And there's been quite a few baseball players along the way that have discussed the mental side, and I think it's something that organizations are starting to put more of an emphasis on, and you're starting to see some former players transition into roles where they're able to help young players, not just as a coach, but as a friend, as an advisor, as whatever the title may be. But I think it's something that I've always been passionate about since I was before a professional baseball player. I was always intrigued by the psychology side of things. I've worked with a number of psychologists from a young age all the way through my professional career, and I've always found such a great benefit to that. And unfortunately, it's something at times in my career I haven't used to my advantage, or you taking advantage of those opportunities and resources that were there to be able to better myself as a person and as a player. And it's something, like you said, there's so much pressure on players to come up and produce. There's so much pressure to produce stats now, with the analytical evaluations and different things that teams are using to judge talent and ultimately decide, the fate of some guys' careers and opportunities that are given. I think that's an element that is still kind of unknown in this game, and I think some organizations are better than others when it comes to creating a culture and an environment for young players to come up and be comfortable and in a respectful manner. I'm an old school guy and think that, there should be a level of respect that young players show to older players. But at the same time, I think the game has taken some good strides in the sense of seeing these young players and these young cores come together and win championships and have success and reach the playoffs and break, some of the playoff droughts. I know for me personally, what I experienced in Pittsburgh was such a exciting, just overall experience for myself and my wife, being a part of a younger kind of group that was pushing towards the same goal and really taking that next step from being a pretender to becoming a contender.
Travis, if 29-year-old Travis Snider could go back into the past and talk to 21-year-old Travis Snider, a guy that was, struggling it out, battling, whether it be with the Blue Jays and, smashing a bat over his knee after a strikeout, what would you tell that kid?
It's funny you mentioned that because I've played with a lot of 21, 22-year-olds and seen that level of frustration that, as competitors, we feel that sometimes those emotions are warranted, and absolutely, it's a frustrating game, it's a negative game, but also understanding how to look at things and draw positives. I think, if anything, throughout the course of a season, what I've continued to learn every single year, whether I've executed this or realized it after the season I should have done a better job, is there's so many positives to take away through some of these slumps. And I think when we fall into the extended slumps, which I've been prone to a lot of my career, things start to snowball and you don't have the perspective or the outlook or the mindset, more importantly, to be able to take a 0 for 4 game and say, hey, I hit two balls right on the screws or right at somebody and, had some good at bats. And, if I can continue to be consistent with that approach, I'm going to have success. It might take 10, 20, 30, 40 at bats, whatever it is. But I think that's the biggest thing I see, in my career and what I see in young players now is the amount of pressure we put on ourselves just to get hits instead of being able to take good at bats, quality at bats, whatever the term, the different organizations use, to be able to say, hey, this is not as bad as it looks on paper. And as long as you can stay focused on your routine and trusting your work and being able to go out there and compete, because ultimately we get into our own heads, we get in front of ourselves and don't allow ourselves to go out and just compete. And that's one thing that separated me from, probably 3 years old until you could ask any of my buddies at home that I'm probably the most competitive out of all of us, sometimes to a fault, but at the same time, understanding how to release the mental block and just go out there and play with your hair on fire and compete every time you step in the box and just get after it every single night and have fun doing it and stop putting the pressure on yourself that is making you react negatively on a regular basis. We're all going to have our blow-ups. We're all human beings, but for me, it's something. The more I did it, the more consistently I was getting frustrated in that sense. The more it just kind of snowballed into just an overall negative mindset.